The Florida Department of Education was accused of slander by the College Board on Saturday following ongoing criticism of its AP African American Studies course, which was being piloted in 60 high schools across the country. A letter from the State Education Department's Office of Articulation sent to the College Board in January said, in its current form, the course lacks educational value and is contrary to Florida law. Weeks later, the College Board posted the course curriculum online, which was now missing subjects of concern, including critical race theory, the queer experience, black feminism, and others, the New York Times reported.
The College Board apologized, saying, "We deeply regret not immediately denouncing the Florida Department of Education's slander, magnified by the DeSantis administration's subsequent comments that African American studies, quote, lacks educational value. Our failure to raise our voice betrayed Black scholars everywhere and those who have long toiled to build this remarkable field." In their statement, they claimed, quote, "We had no negotiations about the content of this course with Florida or any other state, nor did we receive any requests, suggestions, or feedback." Adding, quote, "In Florida's effort to engineer a political win, they have claimed credit for the specific changes we made to the official framework, none of which they ever asked us to remove and most of which remain in the official framework." Not only did they not ask us to remove them, but they're still there. I don't know, Robby, to me, this just smacks of a cover-up. The College Board was accused of caving to the DeSantis administration, and now they're rushing to make it look like they were going to take, queer feminism out of the curriculum from the beginning. Okay, well, then why was it there in the first place? Who else objected to it that made them take it out? I don't need DeSantis to get the win for this. But the point is, you have African American studies people in the field will say to you, well, African American studies is about so much more than African American history. That's why the fact that Florida law mandates that students of all races learn Black history and learn about the history of racism in America and learn about slavery and Jim Crow, that doesn't cover it because African American studies extends so far beyond that. And the question is, okay, well, what beyond the history is it? Is it going to be critical race theory, or is it going to be African American culture, right? Is it going to be something that has real educational value, or is it going to be the very things that they love to claim don't exist in high school classrooms, which we all know that they do? So I think they got caught with their pants down, and now they're trying to make it look like, they needed a big, to have some sort of big statement against DeSantis and against, the Florida Board of Education so that they could look like they weren't caving, when actually, they probably actually weren't caving, but they understood that if they wanted this course to exist, they needed to get rid of the critical race theory and the queer elements, or it's not going to cut it.
They've sufficiently confused me as to whether they're caving. They said, we will never cave, we will stand strong, but they took that stuff out. So then I guess all criticism of them, like they really can't have this one both ways. All the criticism of them that DeSantis, censor czar DeSantis took all this objectionable stuff out, I guess is not true, right? They were taking it out on their own. Is that what they're saying? Really, it doesn't make any sense at all. They got criticized for not standing up to a Republican governor. They got criticized by the mainstream media. So now they're in trouble. Look, I would have been fine with, I think, some of the things omitted from the curriculum. Like, I don't even care. If they want to teach that curriculum, I don't have any problem with it. I would probably question the role of the governor in, handpicking what subjects are to be instructed on. Although there's nothing, you still can instruct or read the list of scholars who are no longer being included. The schools still can teach them. It's just not part of that official curriculum. It's sort of a very academic dispute. I think this was a new AP curriculum that's being pioneered. Stuff goes in and out of those kinds of curriculums all the time. So this took on a very political lens. Probably not necessarily. Again, I would be fine with a school teaching it the way it is. I would be fine with some other school teaching it not that way. Then we can see who scores better on the test, and we could find out which way was better, right? Maybe we can apply some objective criteria at this point to find out which version of the curriculum makes you better prepared to succeed at college or in life. That would be kind of refreshing rather than just trying to guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that look, as somebody who spent a lot of time in academia, kind of saw how the sausage was made, there's a lot of stuff that happens in college classrooms that would be very upsetting to many parents to know that their child is being exposed to that at the high school level. And, we've debated about this before, Robby. Someone has to make the decision about what is appropriate for kids to be studying and what is not, right? And I don't necessarily have a problem with it being the governor. I mean, it does seem, to be going pretty high up the chain, but somebody is deciding what public school kids are being taught. Someone in the government. That's somebody's job, right? To make sure that what they're studying is of educational value, right? That they're getting a good education. Now, I'm sure you and I could agree that the much bigger problem is that, huge numbers of American children are not reading at grade level. They can't do math. They're not prepared for, competing in the marketplace. That's obviously a much bigger problem. So I think the criticism that all this focus on critical race theory is a distraction that both sides are using to distract from the fact that our kids can't read, especially poor kids, especially lower income kids, especially Black and Hispanic kids, right? That we're sentencing children to downward mobility and reducing our ability to compete on the global scale, that's, I think, a valid criticism, that all of this talk about education should be focused on how do we get Baltimore kids to learn how to read. And that's totally valid. But I think it's also fair for parents to say, look, I don't want my kid learning critical race theory, and you keep promising me that they're not going to, and then it keeps slipping in and you have to take it out. I mean,
I'm perturbed that like you, I am most perturbed that the public education system in the city of Baltimore or wherever it is, we don't need to pick on Baltimore specifically, although it does have problems there, is not doing a good enough job teaching kids to read and to do math, despite the massive amount of money they get, public money, to spend per student. It seems grossly inefficient, and they never get less money. They always get more money, and it's not working. They haven't figured it out. They haven't cracked the code. They're doing something wrong, whereas other schools are succeeding. Other schools can educate kids for less money. So my magic solution would be, well, let's figure out what those schools are doing, or better yet, just let the kids go to those schools, take whatever the money is, and then go to that school that worked it out. And if that school has critical race theory, I don't really care. If it doesn't, I don't care. I would leave. So like you, I want the ultimate decision maker to be the parent, and they should just be equipped to make that decision in consultation, hopefully, with their child. And they really need the money to be able to do that. But we spend tons of money on education. We just don't give it to the families and the children. We give it to the school system.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, as somebody who for a long time was a liberal and a leftist in good standing, and one gets committed to the idea of public schools, you want the public schools to be great. But when you ask parents, especially a lot of Black parents, what they want school choice. They want to be able to choose the school their kids go to. Charter schools have huge records of success. And obviously we don't have to debate that right now. But yeah, I mean, obviously that's a huge part of the problem is like they keep sinking more and more money into these schools and they're still failing. And it's in nobody's interest to sit there and say, okay, what's going wrong here, right? Like where is the disconnect here? Of course, there's different, conversations we could have about where that is, but it's obviously a huge problem. And, I think whichever political party decides it's going to stand for parents' relationship with their kids, and right now that seems like it's the Republicans, that's a pretty winning issue, I think.
It is a very winning issue. Look no further than Virginia, right across the river from me, where Glenn Youngkin, I think, absolutely prevailed on the strength of that issue. Well, that does it for us for today. Tomorrow on Rising, reporter at US Right to Know, Emily Kopp, will join us, and we'll get into those COVID hearings that are going on Capitol Hill. Plus, of course, Brianna Joy Gray will be back in studio. Wonderful seeing you this morning, Batya.
Thanks, Robby. I'll be watching you tomorrow.
Thank you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Take care, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.